bacteria. These bacteria made antibodies. These antibodies bound to the capillaries in the patient's lung tissues, meaning they were trying to, okay, so they're in the capillaries. So given that, A, yes, the viral replication was demonstrated in the endothelial cell. Okay. Now they don't say lung endothelial cells, right? No.
There was nothing about replication even on the entire passage.
But we know about replication. Well, we know that replication is the lysogenic phase, which I kind of talked about, and that's the reason why, you know, this disease isn't contagious. It's only contagious during the lytic phase because you have the virions exploding out of the cell. So given that, that's why I think of replication. Now, yep.
Would the capillary endothelium not be the same as the capillary wall?
The capillary, I would think of it as pretty much the same thing. That's where the diffusion takes place. Okay. Now, part B, viral DDA is found associated with lung capillaries. Viral lineages were found associated with capillary endothelium.
Well, and you were talking about this being in the blood.
Mm-hmm.
So, would you think that something that was replicating in the cells would be something that was more contagious through like coughing and stuff?
It's going to have to be in your lungs. It's going to have to be, whatever's contagious has to be in your lung tissue. It has to be.
Right, so if it was replicating in the endothelial cells, it would be in the walls of the lungs?
The walls of the lungs, yes.
So couldn't that be something that you could like cough out?
Not until the virus becomes lytic.
Okay.
That's why I thought of lysogenic versus lytic. Replication happens during the lysogenic phase. It's not a virulent disease. It's not something that's going to affect that patient. It's just the virus is replicated. Now, once that virus is replicated enough times, it's going to start creating proteins, and it's basically going to create these. It's going to replicate into these things called virions, which are going to, once you create enough, they're going to explode out of the cell. That's when it becomes virulent. That's the lytic phase. That's when you're going to start coughing it up.
So
Okay.
they
I see your point.
symptoms though during this replication phase? They're like,
Yeah, I think you know
they're
that
clearly
replication. You would show the symptoms then. Yes.
it
Yes.
just wouldn't be contagious.
No, I mean it's contagious once they explode out of the cell.
Okay.
Okay, that's the lytic phase. I would still, I would still mark A. See, C is, to me, C is not the best answer because there's no indication that they're antigen. Well, yeah, actually there is, right? Experiment 3, right? So yeah, I guess C is a pretty good answer too, right? Okay. Mark it and move on. Mark it and move on. I think that's also a good answer. Yeah. I think thinking about viral replication, because that's the lytic phase, you would expect it to be contagious. So I think that reasoning works. Yeah. Let's mark C and move on. Okay. All right. Answers.
112 is C.
112 is C, correct.
113 is B.
113 is B, correct.
14 is B.
14 is B, correct.
A.
115 is A, correct.
16 C.
16 C, correct.
And antibodies bind to antigens. C.
There you go. Very good. Well done. Well done. It's perfect. Perfect physical science, perfect biological science. Well done. Okay. And this is your all's first day of class. So this all makes sense, right? You just got to think of it. You got to master the fundamentals. Always think of the fundamentals. Okay. Now the last thing we're going to do, I don't want to keep you for much longer. We're just going to run through a verbal passage. And what I'm going to have you do, I'm not going to have you go through the questions. You don't need to go through the questions yet until you master the technique. What I'm just going to do is a simple exercise where, and you have your verbal passage in front of you. It's passage 6 from test 10R. Okay. And what I want you to do is just read through the passage. I'll give you about 5 minutes. Okay, that's the amount of time it takes that you should spend reading a passage. And this is verbal. Okay, this is MCAT verbal. You really have to figure out the author's main points to the reader. What the author is really trying to say to the reader. Okay? Because that's what they're going to test you on, right? Makes sense, right? So what I want you to do is take your highlighter, okay, and I'll give you 5 minutes to read through this passage. I want you each to highlight every major point the author is trying to present to the reader. Okay? And I'm going to do the same thing on my verbal passage, the same one you guys are doing. I've never seen this passage. And I'm going to highlight every key point using the technique that I teach called verbal virtuoso. Okay. And then afterwards afterwards we'll compare how you guys did and how I did, and you as a class are going to try to get more of the important points than I can. Okay. And I'll give you guys 5 minutes. Derek, can you keep track 5 minutes?
Yep.
Okay. Starting now.